Today marks the 65th anniversary of CBS News' Face the Nation. The Sunday morning public affairs program has been on the air since 1954, making it one of the longest-running news programs in television history.
CBS News senior foreign affairs correspondent Margaret Brennan took over the show as moderator in February of last year.
And Margaret is joining us now from Washington. Good to see you.
Great to be with you. Can you believe that? November 7th, 1954.
It is remarkable. It is remarkable, Margaret. And maybe what we can do as we begin this discussion is take our viewers through the involvement of Face the Nation from 1954 to where we are today in 2019.
Well, a tremendous period, being able to be a platform every Sunday and give this firsthand account to the tremendous change in Washington. This is not the first impeachment inquiry. In fact, it's the third that this show has had to walk the American public through during the attempted impeachment of Nixon, that of Bill Clinton, which, of course, my colleague Bob Schieffer handled, and then now with President Trump. And when you go back and look at the transcript from that very first episode on November 7th, back in 1954, it's a good reminder that this is not incredibly new territory to have our country be this divided and contentious. The first guest on that day was Senator Joe McCarthy. A period of time that, you know, Americans look back at as somewhat dark in our history in terms of the level of vitriol, of blacklisting of fellow Americans in the middle of that Red Scare. And the language used in that transcript, you have echoes again of the kind of heat we hear now. Senator McCarthy at that time calls what was happening to him. There was a censure underway to push back on his efforts to hunt out what he believed were communists throughout the American government, and he called it a political lynching. And the host at the time said, whoa, 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 do you want to use that kind of heated language in this case? And he said, absolutely, I do. I mean, this is a conversation we just had about 2 weeks ago in this country about, you know, whether it is appropriate to use culturally and emotionally loaded terms as just sort of political fare. What is old there is often we're watching replay now. And I think it's amazing to look back through the years at just the moments that Face the Nation has been witness to. You saw all those world leaders. You saw Golda Meir there, the Castros. I mean, it's fascinating to go back and look at a broadcast from Cuba as the Castros were first coming to power there and promising all sorts of change and revolution. And, you know, as someone who covered the reopening of diplomatic relations and since then the closing of them again, it's fascinating to go back and look at what Face the Nation bore witness to.
So I'm curious what you think the role of the show is now. You know, you talked about McCarthy being the first guest, which we say is a good get.
That's a pretty good get. That's a good get.
And the similarities between the sort of discourse that was happening then versus what's happening now. So what role do you believe the show plays, considering just how divisive things are in Washington?
Well, you know, we've never had so many options to so quickly receive information. I mean, literally at your fingertips with your mobile phone, you can pose any question and get some kind of data back, whether it's information or disinformation. And that overwhelming access, I think in some ways, and maybe that's counterintuitive, has made the platform of context, perspective, and discussion that much more important. People in this really fast-moving news environment sometimes don't know who or what to trust. And for us, I know on Face the Nation, we are so cognizant of that, you know, the years of respect and tradition there, of being able to have a civil conversation. Talk is cheap, and you can get an opinion just about anywhere these days. And I think being able to have a conversation about the news that matters, the week that was, and start the week that we're about to begin is how we approach each Sunday program in this really crowded news environment.
Yeah, for sure. And you've been moderating Face the Nation for a little over the year, and you've covered topics ranging from gun violence, U.S. relations in the Middle East, to interviewing key voices in the impeachment inquiry. You know, I know that I started watching Face the Nation when I was a kid, and Leslie Stahl was the moderator. Leslie is still at CBS News. Bob Schieffer is still at CBS News. John Dickerson is still at CBS News. Do you ever tap some of that institutional knowledge? Because the political environment is so different right now than it was when those moderators were sitting in that chair, Margaret. Have you seen that profound change that you and your team are sort of wrestling with on a daily basis that perhaps the other moderators didn't have to worry about? There was probably 1 or 2 big stories back, you know, when Leslie was moderating. Now there's like 10.
Right, we should have a 4-hour Face the Nation now to catch all the news of the week. I absolutely have talked to them. I talked to Leslie Stahl, who was the first female moderator of Face the Nation before I had my sit down with President Trump last February, because she continues to break news in that space and interview the president in her role at 60 Minutes. Bob Schieffer continues to be a great resource in terms of thinking, okay, you've seen so much, give me some perspective. Is this truly unprecedented? And chances are he will tell you, oh yes, I've never seen anything quite like this right now. And John Dickerson is such a great historian and scholar of American politics. He is someone who is great to be able to turn to. And it really is an institution. And I think the few people who have been in this position can know what a challenge it is. I mean, doing live interviews in the middle of such a politically heated environment, when there is just a real desire to break through talking points, is not an easy thing to do. And Bob Schieffer, John Dickerson, Leslie Stahl, all of the moderators have tried to do that through the years. You're right. There weren't Twitter tweetbacks happening. But it's something we're all adjusting to, I think, in the news environment.
There's also another milestone we're celebrating at CBS News, Margaret. It is the 5th year anniversary of CBSN, and on the very first day of CBSN, you and I anchored together. Whenever you Google my name, that's the only picture that turns up. It's me and Margaret.
Right.
That was fun. That was fun.
Margaret shows up for all the anniversaries, all the parties.
Exactly. Well, congratulations, Margaret. This is such a milestone, and thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Absolutely, and I want to thank the Face the Nation team and executive producer Mary Hager for all the hard work they do in incredible circumstances right now.
They really do. We thank them as well. Thanks, Margaret.
Thanks.